Silence in the courtroom. The judge's gavel boomed, but nothing could muffle the murmurs swirling like a tempest within the crowded hall. The tension was palpable. Reporters had their pens poised, cameras snapped, and acquaintances who had watched the sister wives drama for years sat on the edge of their seats. This was not an ordinary day in court. This was the day everybody waited for. And at the center of it all stood Meri Brown. She moved slowly, purposefully down the aisle to her chair at the plaintiff's table. Her heels tapped against the highly polished courtroom floor. Every step resounded like a rebellion drumbeat. For years, Meri had been referred to as the quiet one, the dutiful wife who remained, the woman who hung on even when love abandoned her. But today was not the same. Today her silence vanished. Her head was held high, her eyes keen and unwavering. She didn't blink as she walked past the cameras. She didn't duck her head as the whispers hissed through the courtroom. That's her, that's Meri Brown. She's the one finally standing up to him. For so long, Meri had existed in the twilight of Kody's favoritism, betrayal, and obsession with Robyn. She was the forgotten wife, the left-out one. But today the world was going to hear her voice. The charges, the filings had been done weeks before, but hearing them being read out in court shocked the audience. The clerk's voice echoed out. Meri Brown versus Kody Brown. The allegations: financial fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. Whispers echoed through the courtroom. People looked at each other wide-eyed. This was not just a battle over divorce. This was Meri accusing Kody of something much grander. Of stealing the family money, placing it in hidden accounts, and leaving her with zero. Kody sat at the defense table, arms folded, jaw so tightly clenched. His face appeared sculpted from marble. His eyes were blazing with fury. For years, he had been the one in charge. The leader of the family, the ruler of the rules, the voice that overrode all the others. But here, within these four walls, that authority was slipping from his grasp. He shifted awkwardly in his seat, mumbling harshly at his attorney. His non-verbal cues shouted defiance. But the nervous tap of his foot against the floor gave him away. The gallery was full to capacity. Every seat was filled, every gaze fixed upon the woman at the center of it all. In back sat Christine and Janelle. Christine's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the edge of the wooden bench. She had left Kody long ago. But watching Meri step into this battlefield made her heart pound. She knew the pain Meri had carried, the quiet suffering, the endless waiting for love that never came. Janelle leaned closer, whispering, "She's stronger than he ever thought she was. Just look at her." Christine nodded, a tear threatening to fall. It's about time the truth came out. The wives' support was subdued, but it was intense. For years, the wives had been at odds, against each other, fighting for morsels of attention. But now, in this courtroom, no one was competing, only solidarity. The tension builds. The judge adjusted his glasses and glanced downward at the file. We are present today to hear the allegations made by the plaintiff, Meri Brown, against the defendant, Kody Brown. The charges against him are financial misdeeds, fraudulent dispositions, and the intentional concealment of assets. Both sides will be given the opportunity to make their cases. The words hung suspended in the air. Kody rolled his eyes in disgust and muttered under his breath. His attorney gave him a warning look. This was not his living room, where he could yell and get his own way. This was a courtroom, and in this place, arrogance did not rule. Meri sat still as stone, hands clasped together on the table. Her heart was racing inside. She could feel the thumping in her chest, the shaking in her breath. But she was not going to let it out. She had waited for this moment. She had fantasized about it through sleepless nights, when the treachery had seemed too much to bear. And now, sitting a few feet away from the man who had destroyed her life, she was prepared. Memories of betrayal. As the judge spoke, Meri's mind flickered with memories. She recalled the moment she understood Kody's affection had ceased to be hers, the manner in which his eyes sparkled up for Robyn, whereas hers had turned cold and detached. She recalled the catfishing controversy that all but decimated her reputation, and how Kody had not been there for her to comfort her, but had instead judged her. She recalled the numerous occasions she had sought reassurance, only to find rejection. But the baddest memory of all was the money. It was late one evening that Meri came across a piece of paper: transfers, withdrawals. Thousands of dollars being taken from the joint account, slipping quietly into Robyn's hands. Initially she thought it a glitch. But the more she read, the clearer it became. Kody had been planning for a future, but not with her. That treachery cut deeper than any mean word, deeper than any cold shoulder. It was evidence that she wasn't merely unloved, she had been wiped out. The courtroom atmosphere. The room itself seemed to be buzzing with energy. The walls, often dull and quiet, now seemed as if they were humming with expectation. Each rustle of paper, each cough, every movement of a body resonated in the quiet spaces between words. Reporters scribbled furiously. One whispered to another, "This will be front page tomorrow." The fall of the Brown Empire. Spectators leaned forward, unable to look away. Some had followed the family for years on television. Others were locals, curious about the drama unfolding in their town. But all of them could sense it. This was more than a legal battle. This was the unraveling of a dynasty. Meri's resolve as the judge called for opening statements. Meri took a deep breath. She thought about walking away years ago, about disappearing quietly from Kody's life, but something inside her had shifted. She wasn't going to be invisible anymore. Her lawyer placed a comforting hand on her arm. "You're ready for this. Just stay strong. The truth will carry you." Meri nodded, her gaze flashing back to Kody. He was glaring at her, his face set hard, as if challenging her to proceed. But she didn't flinch. Not this time. For the first time in decades, Meri Brown wasn't intimidated by Kody Brown. And as the rumors died away in silence, as the opening words of the trial were about to be uttered, one thing became clear. This was not a case. This was not a courtroom. This was the moment Meri Brown took back her voice. And nothing would ever be the same again. The judge's gavel came down again, hard and final. "We will now hear the plaintiff's evidence." The tension in the room increased. Everyone knew this was the moment when whispers became evidence, when rumors became fact. Meri's lawyer, a tall man with silver hair and a voice that carried across the room, walked confidently to the center. He carried a binder so thick it looked like it could topple the entire Brown family empire on its own. He placed it firmly on the desk in front of the judge. Thud. The sound made Kody flinch. "Your Honor," the attorney started, "what we introduce today is not conjecture. These are solid statistics. These are the facts that Mr. Brown wished would never see the light of day. Facts that establish a precedent of financial deception against my client, Meri Brown." The onlookers stirred restlessly. A wave of expectation passed through the hall. The first bombshell. The attorney opened the binder and took out the first set of documents. They were blown-up copies of bank statements, cast on the courtroom screen for all to view. Rows of transactions pulsed in the bright light, figures, dates, and transfers that cried a tale louder than words ever could. Exhibit A, the attorney stated. A joint account in the name of the Brown family. Here we have the usual deposits made from Meri's contributions, her income from her business, and her share of the family joint ventures. But examine the withdrawals. Thousands of dollars flowed out time and again. He tapped a page with his finger, the sound of each tap ringing out in the quiet room. Where did it go? Directly into an account with my client's name not on it, not joint, not shared, but private, owned solely by the defendant, Kody Brown, and his fourth wife Robyn Brown. Gasps broke out in the gallery. Some shook their heads in amazement, others scribbled energetically in notebooks. Christine leaned forward, whispering hotly to Janelle, "I told you so. I knew he was stashing money with Robyn." Janelle's expression narrowed. "He lied to us all. All those years we believed the money was taut, that it wasn't enough. But there was. He just wasn't sharing it." The luxury purchases. The attorney turned over another page, this one showing shiny receipts and photos of merchandise bought. Exhibit B. $1,000 per session jewelry. Designer duds. Overseas purchased furniture. Cash paid vacations. All while my client scraped by on what she could on the remaining funds. The photos scrolled across the courtroom screen. Diamond chokers, designer handbags, high-end furniture, resort reservations. The contrast was savage. The attorney's tone hardened. Your Honor, these weren't marital expenses. These were luxuries, paid for with funds that were meant to secure Meri Brown, the woman who gave years of her life to this marriage. She was left behind financially, standing by while her husband constructed a new empire for another woman. A reporter wrote in capital letters, Kody caught funneling cash to Robyn. Kody's outburst now. Kody slapped his hands on the table, having lost control. This is sick, he bellowed. That money was for the family, for the children. She's making me out to be some kind of felon. The judge instantly banged his gavel. Mr. Brown, you will quiet yourself, or you will be taken from this courtroom. Kody's lawyer leaned in, hissing under his breath. Sit down, Kody. You're making it worse. But Kody's face was red, his eyes wild. He hated this. He hated not being in control, not being able to dominate the conversation. For the first time in his life, his voice didn't carry power here. It only carried desperation. Meri didn't budge. She sat stiff as stone, her gaze fixed on the evidence screen. Inside she was sick to her stomach, but outside she was unflappable. She wasn't going to let him win this round by breaking. The lawyer's strategy. The lawyer turned again to the judge, serene as ever. Your Honor, I know the defendant is upset, but upset does not make the truth disappear. The truth in these documents. Every dollar stolen, every lie concealed, and every promise shattered. He took out another sheet, Exhibit C. Here are the records of Meri's investments in the family businesses, LuLaRoe profits, appearances and other business ventures. She contributed her share, assuming the money would be invested in the family as a whole. But take a look. The transfers coincide. The money she contributed flowed in, and before long it flowed straight back out, into Robyn's accounts. The attorney stopped, allowing the silence to settle. This is not partnership. This is exploitation. The gallery responds. The crowd was abuzz with murmurs. Heads were shaken, mouths covered in shock. Christine's jaw clenched. He said we were all broke. He said he didn't have enough money for my children's expenses. And meanwhile he was purchasing Robyn diamonds. Janelle let out a deep breath, a bitter laugh escaping. He constructed an empire for one wife, while the rest of us were fighting for scraps. And now it's finally been exposed. Reporters pushed their cameras upward, photographing every twitch of emotion on Kody's face. His anger, his panic, his disintegrating composure. It was all there for the world to photograph. The turning point. The attorney approached Kody's table, holding the binder aloft for all to view. His voice became stern, each phrase a spike pounded into the coffin of Kody's reputation. Mr. Brown vowed equality. He vowed fairness. He vowed my client economic security. But these records reveal the contrary. They reveal a man who exploited his wives, depleted their assets, and defaulted on his obligations to Meri. She trusted him. He betrayed her. Kody shifted restlessly, not meeting her eyes. The attorney placed the binder on the desk with a resounding thud. Your Honor, this is just the start. We have pages more. But what we've witnessed up to now makes one thing painfully clear. Meri Brown wasn't merely forgotten. She was stolen. The judge nodded, his expression impassive, but his eyes settled on Kody with increasing scrutiny. Meri's silent strength. All along Meri remained silent, her fists clenched, her back straight. She didn't have to yell. She didn't have to plead. The proof was crying out harder than she ever could. Inside her heart weighed heavy, reliving the pain by seeing the receipts again, by seeing the proof of each of them betraying her, felt like reliving it all over again. Yet, in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Power. For once Kody couldn't manipulate her words. He couldn't brush aside her emotions. The proof was black and white, and there was no denying it. The session comes to a close. As the session came to an end, the judge rapped his gavel. This court will resume tomorrow in order to further review evidence. Until that time, both parties are dismissed. The gallery burst into commotion as individuals stood, abuzz with excitement and outrage. Christine clasped Janelle close. She did it. She's finally making him own up to it. Janelle was smiling through tears. For once he can't hide it. The truth is out. Kody stormed out of the courtroom, his attorney behind, muttering urgently. His face reddened, his shoulders stiff, every movement exuding fury. Meri slowly rose to her feet, collecting her papers. She didn't flee. She didn't cower. She exited the courtroom as she entered. With head held high, the whispers trailed behind her. But now they weren't whispers of skepticism. They were whispers of respect. And as the doors shut behind her, one thing was left absolutely clear. The evidence had spoken, and Kody Brown's empire was starting to unravel. Morning sun poured through the tall courthouse windows, but the outside warmth could not penetrate the cold tension within. Every chair was occupied, every pair of eyes focused on the front of the room. The judge cleared his throat. The court will hear the defendant, Mr. Kody Brown, give testimony. A ripple of whispers moved through the gallery. This was it. This was the moment for which everyone had been waiting. The opportunity to hear Kody respond for himself, under oath, with no place to hide. The walk to the stand, Kody slowly stood up from his chair, his face a mask of stone. His golden locks, now graying, hung loosely over his shoulders. He smoothed down his suit coat, adjusted his shoulders, and strode down to the witness stand, like he was going into battle. Each move was brazen. His chin was set, his jaw tense, and in arrogance his chin was lifted. But a flutter of nervousness in his hand, as he adjusted his tie, gave away a moment of uncertainty. Christine and Janelle edged forward in the gallery. Christine breathed softly. Here it comes. He won't be able to lie his way out of this. Janelle folded her arms, her gaze fixed on Kody. He's always thought he's above the law. Let's see what he does when he's on oath. The bailiff administered the oath. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Kody's tone was clipped, bordering on irritation. I do. The opening questions. Meri's attorney came up to the stand, his binder clutched against his arm. He did not hurry. He went slowly, intentionally, as if he was enjoying the moment. Mr. Brown, the attorney started, his voice even-tempered, but with a cutting edge. You've said for years that you've always given equally to all of your wives. Is that true? Kody settled back in the chair, a slight smirk on his face. Yes, I've always done what I could to provide for my family. The attorney cocked an eyebrow. Always, Kody insisted, speaking louder, as if loudness could make his response more emphatic. The first trap. The attorney opened the binder, extracted a sheet of paper, and held it up for the jury. Exhibit D. A transfer of $150,000 from the joint family account, the joint account that also included Meri's income. Can you inform the court where this money ended up? Kody leaned forward in his seat. That was a family expense. The lawyer's tone turned icy. A family expense, Mr. Brown, because the books indicate it was transferred to an account solely in Robyn Brown's name. No other wife is listed on it. Is that a family account to you? The room gasped. The gallery buzzed. Kody's grin faltered. His speech faltered. That's not the whole story. The attorney leaned forward. Then tell us the entire story. Right here. Right now. Why was my client's money being transferred into an account she had no access to? Kody cracks. Kody's hands clamped the sides of the stand. His knuckles whitened. I had to make decisions, he snapped. I'm the head of the family. I was doing what was best. Meri didn't understand the bigger picture. The tone of the lawyer became cold. So the greater good involved taking her money and leaving her with nothing. Kody's face reddened. He glanced toward the judge, as if hoping for rescue. But the judge was silent, his face inscrutable. The cross-examination continues. Mr. Brown, the lawyer went on, walking slowly. You offered Meri financial security when she wedded you. Did you? Yes, growled Kody, his tone lower. And yet, the attorney badgered, unfolding another sheet of paper from the binder. When Meri needed assistance with paying for her house repairs last year, you informed her there wasn't sufficient money. Isn't that correct? Kody's gaze swiveled to Meri. She looked back at him evenly, unblinking. That was complicated, Kody grumbled. Complicated, the attorney again, his voice heavy with incredulity. He held the paper higher. Because 2 weeks prior to that, you took a $25,000 vacation to Hawaii. Not for Meri. Not for the family. For yourself, Robyn, and her kids. The courtroom was filled with gasps. Press reporters wrote furiously, the scratch of their pens sounding like thunder. Kody pounded his fist on the stand. That's not right. You don't realize how difficult it was to keep up with everything. The judge's gavel came down hard. Order in the court. The gallery responds. Christine hunched over Janelle, speaking in a hushed voice. Did you hear that? Hawaii. Meanwhile, Meri was struggling. Janelle shook her head. It's more than we thought. He's digging himself in. Christine's eyes grew softer as she looked at Meri, who sat quietly at her table. She is entitled to this moment. She is entitled to have the truth listened to. The lawyer's last blow. The lawyer returned to the front of the courtroom, his voice firm. Mr. Brown, you've repeatedly stated that you're a fair man, that you treat all your wives the same. But today, under oath, the facts indicate otherwise. Isn't it that you redirected funds, ignored your obligations to Meri, and favored Robyn over all others? Kody's chest was heaving with rage. I did what I believed in. I had to defend the family. The attorney's eyes narrowed. Whose family, Mr. Brown? Because it appears to everyone present that when you use the word family, what you actually mean is Robyn. The courtroom was silent. The words sliced the air like a knife. The judge intervenes. The judge leaned forward, his voice stern. Mr. Brown, you are sworn in. You will respond clearly. Did you move money from the joint account into accounts in only Robyn Brown's name? Kody gulped hard, his booming, confident voice now cracked. Yes, gasps, shouts of astonishment. The gallery erupted into noise, until the judge banged his gavel repeatedly. Order, order. Christine clasped her hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Janelle shut her eyes, speaking softly. Finally, Meri didn't budge. She sat motionless, a calm face, a fierce strength emanating through the quiet. The collapse of control. Kody attempted to get back on track. He addressed the jury, raising his voice in desperation. I was trying to hold things together. I was stressed out. They have no idea what it's like to be me. But his words fell flat. No one looked convinced. The jury watched him with narrowed eyes. The judge scribbled notes, unimpressed. The gallery shook their heads. For the first time, Kody Brown, the man who had controlled his family for decades, looked powerless. The session ends. The lawyer closed his binder with a snap. No further questions at this time, Your Honor. The judge nodded. The witness may step down. Kody stumbled slightly as he rose, his bravado crumbling. He avoided eye contact with Meri as he returned to his seat. His lawyer whispered furiously, but Kody barely listened. He was sweating, his hands trembling. Christine and Janelle exchanged a look. For years they had watched Kody twist words, control narratives, and dodge accountability. But here, in this courtroom, the truth was finally untangling his power. Meri took a slow breath, calming herself. This was only one fight in the war, but today she had witnessed it. Kody Brown, broken wide open on the stand, his empire founded in lies now standing on unsteady ground. The courtroom was electric with tension. The evidence had been presented. Kody's arrogance as a witness had failed him. And now it was time for the moment of truth that everyone had been anticipating. Meri Brown's testimony. The bailiff made her way to her seat with a somber nod. Mrs. Brown, step forward, please. Meri rose reluctantly, every step to the witness stand ringing out across the heavy silence. Her heels clicking on the polished wood floor seemed, to her, like thunder, the rumbling of fate. She had entered the court with decades of silence, with decades of pain, with decades of betrayal. But today she walked in with something new as well. Strength. Her hands quivered ever so slightly as she sat in the witness stand. She fidgeted with the microphone, and for a fleeting moment, her glance flashed to Kody. He looked away. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, pretending to leaf through his attorney's papers, but everyone could tell, Kody was shaken. The judge's tone softened. Mrs. Brown, speak from your heart. Tell the court your own words. Meri took a deep breath, her chest heaving as if she was about to be underwater. And then she started. The pain of a forgotten wife. For years, Meri answered, her voice low but firm. I held a dream that Kody portrayed to me when I was young and naive. A dream of one family. A sacred covenant, a union in which I was not insignificant. I invested my whole life in that dream. Her eyes overflowed, but she refused to let the tears fall. She would not crumble. Not here. Not now. I was his first wife. I stood by him when we had nothing. I worked 2 jobs in order to put food on the table. I raised children as he pursued new relationships. And I took him at his word. Every one of them. He promised me that I would always be taken care of. He promised me that we were creating a family together. She stopped, her voice breaking. The courtroom was completely still. Even the air weighed heavily, as if the walls themselves were catching their breath. But gradually I became transparent in my own marriage. The man I trusted, the man I loved, began to play favorites. Every holiday, every family gathering, every decision. Robyn was there, radiant in the spotlight, and I was edged out. I became a ghost, a wife no longer. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some wiped away tears. Christine and Janelle shared a knowing look. They had known this pain too. The financial betrayal. Meri's attorney stood up. Mrs. Brown, can you tell the court what you learned about your money? Meri nodded. Yes, I believed the money we all made, from our show, from our ventures, was being saved, invested, and distributed equally amongst the family. That was what we had agreed on. That was the promise. Her voice turned hard now, her tone raging with betrayal. But I was mistaken. I discovered gradually that Kody had been secretly draining accounts. He transferred money into Robyn's name, treating her to luxuries while saying we couldn't afford essentials. I requested assistance for my bed and breakfast, but he denied me. He purchased Robyn new furniture, new jewelry, even paid off her debt. She grabbed a sheet of paper from the folder on her desk and held it up. This is a bank transfer. $50,000. Kody said we couldn't afford repairs on my property. But here is proof that on that same day, he transferred money to Robyn's account. That was my security, my trust. And he took it. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Kody's face flushed red. His lawyer whispered frantically. But Kody waved him off, glaring at Meri with fury in his eyes. The judge raised an eyebrow and leaned forward, clearly shaken by the evidence. The emotional toll. Meri's voice softened again, this time trembling with raw emotion. Do you know what it's like to be sitting in a house you helped create, a family you've sacrificed for, and not feel like you're there? To have the man that you married walk by you, not even looking at you, while he showers someone else with the love he vowed to you. Her voice cracked, and this time, a tear managed to roll down her cheek. She didn't brush it away. She let the courtroom witness her suffering. I begged him for love. I begged him to notice me. And each time I was given excuses, coldness, indifference. And yet I remained. I remained because I believed if I loved more, if I forgave more, if I gave more, then he would love me too. But all I received was emptiness. Christine clapped a hand across her mouth, stifling sobs. Janelle nodded urgently, muttering under her breath. Tell them, Meri, tell them everything. Meri went on, her voice burning with indignation. I am not standing here today out of bitterness. I am not standing here out of jealousy. I stand here because he broke all his promises to me. He used my loyalty against me. He took away everything I had while creating an empire for someone else. And I will no longer be invisible. The courtroom shifts. The whole courtroom appeared to tilt with her words. Reporters wrote frantically in notebooks. Spectators of the sister wives drama, who had gathered to observe the trial, sat in shocked silence. The judge even looked moved, his face softening as he gazed at Meri. Kody, not being able to contain himself, suddenly sprang to his feet. His voice boomed. This is all lies. She's twisting everything. She's just trying to destroy me. Because she's bitter she lost my love. The gallery gasped. Christine muttered under her breath. He just doesn't get it. The judge slammed the gavel down, eyes blazing. Order, Mr. Brown. If you interrupt again, I will hold you in contempt of court. Sit down. Kody sank back into his seat, fuming, his fists clenched so tight, his knuckles turned white. His lawyer placed a hand on his arm, urging him to calm down. But Kody's eyes never left Meri. She didn't flinch. She stared right back at him, calm and resolute. The strength of decades of silence finally breaking free. Mary's closing words. The attorney offered her a final cue. Mrs. Brown, what do you want this court to understand from your testimony? Meri squared her shoulders, her voice firm and level. I want the court to understand that this isn't all about money. This is about betrayal. This is about a woman who devoted her life to a man who said he would give her the world and gave her nothing. I want justice, not just for me, but for every woman who has ever been silenced, pushed out of the way and told that she doesn't matter. Her testimony hit the courtroom like a bolt of lightning. Christine and Janelle rose to their feet, tears in their eyes, applauding silently her bravery. Journalists were whispering, "This is history. She's turning everything around." The judge nodded gravely. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may be seated. Meri returned to her chair, each step a step of newly found strength. She was no longer the overlooked wife. She was no longer invisible. She was a woman standing in her truth, prepared to meet whatever lay ahead. The atmosphere within the courtroom was so charged with tension, it was almost palpable. Each and every spectator was leaning forward, held breaths suspended, anticipating the moment of truth. The ticking of the courtroom clock sounded louder than ever, each and every second ticking by like an eternity. Meri sat at her table, her lawyer whispering comfort to her side. She clutched the arms of her chair, her knuckles bleached. Years she'd been silenced, ignored, dismissed, but now the truth had been uttered, the lies revealed. Across the aisle, Kody Brown sat stiff, his hands folded tightly, his complexion pale. He looked around the room, at the judge, at Meri, at Christine and Janelle sitting in the gallery. For the first time in his life, his charm, his loud voice, and his self-proclaimed leadership didn't matter. This wasn't his living room. This wasn't his family under his command. This was a court of law. And here the truth triumphed over everything. The bailiff's voice boomed. All rise for the Honorable Judge Peterson. Everyone leapt to their feet. The judge, carrying a thick briefcase of notes, strode confidently to the bench and sat. With a swift rap of his gavel, he took control of the room. Be seated. A silence denser than stone fell over the courtroom. The judge speaks. Judge Peterson's eyes swept the room. His voice, unruffled yet firm, resonated through the air. This case has been lengthy, emotional, and severely painful for both sides. But our responsibility here is not to unravel marriages or feelings. Our responsibility is to seek truth and dispense justice. He paused, his eyes settling on Kody. The proof here is overwhelming. Bank records clearly demonstrate money was being taken from communal funds into Mr. Brown's and Mrs. Robyn Brown's sole control accounts. Security and equality assurances to Meri Brown were not kept. Rather, she was left alone, in financial disfavor and deceived. Kody shifted restlessly, his lawyer growling indignantly in his ear. The judge's tone sharpened. Your Honor, this court cannot turn a blind eye to the pattern of systematic financial abuse. Mr. Brown, you diverted marital and family funds for your own benefit, and in doing so, broke the trust and understanding that held your relationship together. Meri's eyes welled up with tears. Her chest constricted, but not from fear, from relief. Kody's desperation. Kody suddenly leapt to his feet, unable to hold back. Your Honor, this isn't fair. She's manipulating the story. I supported this family for years. Everything that I ever did, I did it for them. For her. The judge's gavel crashed down with force. Sit down, Mr. Brown. You've had your say. This court will not allow any further disruptions. The gallery erupted with murmurs. Christine turned to Janelle and whispered, He's losing it. He can't handle not being in charge. Janelle nodded, her gaze locked on Kody, a combination of anger and pity moving across her face. The verdict delivered, the judge lifted the folder in his hand. The room fell silent once again. After diligent consideration, this court finds Kody Brown guilty of financial misconduct and violation of marital trust. He is hereby ordered to repay Meri Brown the full amount of the embezzled funds, a total of $150,000, plus a further $50,000 in damages for emotional and financial damage. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge's voice went on, unflinching. Also, Mr. Brown shall be prevented from exercising sole control over any future joint assets or family property. Legal supervision will be necessary. This order is final. The gavel slammed down with a final deafening bang. Court is adjourned. The aftermath. The room erupted into whispers. Writers frantically scribbling. Cameras snapping. Kody's face reddened, veins swelling in his forehead. He pounded his fist on the table, cursing under his breath. His attorney tried to placate him, but Kody pushed the chair back and stormed out of the courtroom. Pride destroyed. Empire in disarray. Meri sat immobile in her seat, tears silently flowing down her face. Her attorney put a soothing hand on her shoulder, whispering, "You won." She shut her eyes, drawing in deep breaths as if after all those years she could finally breathe. Christine and Janelle crowded forward, embracing her. Christine breathed softly. "You did it, Meri. You stood up to him. You stood up for yourself." Janelle finished. "This isn't your victory alone. It's ours. You proved that every woman who has ever felt silenced has a voice." Meri understood, her lips shake as she smiled. "For so long I felt like I was weak. But today, I feel strong." Kody understood. In the courthouse hallway, Kody stood with his back to the wall, his chest rising and falling with anger. Reporters thrust microphones into his face, insisting on a comment. "Kody, is there anything you want to say about the verdict? Do you think you betrayed Meri? What does this do for your family's future?" He shoved past them, face twisted with fury. For decades he had lived as the patriarch, the man with the final say. Now, stripped by the very system he thought he could outsmart, he had nothing left but his anger. For the first time in his life, Kody Brown was powerless. Meri's triumph. As Meri exited the courtroom, the audience broke out in cheers. They waved signs saying, "Justice for Meri and stand strong." Cameras went off, reporters yelled out questions, but Meri kept her head up. She stopped at the steps of the courthouse and addressed the crowd. Her voice was firm, full of the strength of a woman who had reclaimed herself at last. "For years I existed in silence. I thought I didn't count, but today I stand here knowing that I do. This verdict isn't about me. It's for anyone who has ever been betrayed, ignored, or been made to feel invisible. We all deserve to be seen. We all deserve justice." The audience cheered. Christine and Janelle stood a step behind her, beaming with pride. For the first time in years, the three women were together, not as Kody's wives, but as strong women who had survived, stayed the course, and come out on top. The closing image as Meri descended the courthouse steps, her hair shining in the sunlight, her face radiating the strength she had found. One thought crossed her mind. "I lost a marriage today, but today I gained my freedom." The cameras trailed along behind her, capturing the moment that would become etched forever in her triumph. The heavy courthouse doors behind her shut with a bang, such as the last page of a sorrowful book being closed for good. And for Meri Brown, a new chapter was about to start.